Welcome back, everybody, to Pixel Perfect Marathon 2. Our next game is Glare, Any Percent by J4sp3rr. And without further ado, it's over to you, J4sp3rr.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so this is Glare. I'll just click on New Game, so the game will actually introduce itself with a quick little cutscene. Our galaxy was at peace, and then some alien race came in and is trying to spread darkness. They're trying to take over the sun. You'll see that here. They're not a very friendly bunch, so we obviously need to fix this. The sun is very important. So this is the Shiner. We are the Shiner. The timing for start is a bit weird. It's as I hit the ground. I'll try and call it with a 3, 2, 1, but so 3, 2, 1, go. And the first jump here is going to be blind. I did make it, which is good. Second one is also kind of blind. So yeah, this is Glare. It's a puzzle platformer where the main gimmick compared to other puzzle platformers is that we use light as our ability. Right now, the only ability we have is the Glare ability. Gee, what a surprise original name there. But basically what it means is we can use our eyes, we can shine light from it, and that interacts with the worlds in various ways. Like right here, we can get rid of these smoke clouds. A little bit later, it'll also teach us that we can push away enemies with this. And there's a couple other uses like you saw me do there. It interacts with various items in the world to activate them. So it's very, very useful. And this is kind of in the vein of some other Metroidvanias where across the game you'll unlock various upgrades and things to help you on your journey. Here we'll have the first of many pools. So we clear out these pools. You'll see a like pipe or something over here that instead of being dark purple, it now turns to light. That'll come back a little bit later towards the end of this level.
Yeah, I've always been wondering, so does he wear like goggles or are those his eyes?
I believe because he's spawned from like a light god and he's the guardian of light. This is just a being made of light, but it's not exactly like this game has a very well described or like I haven't been able to find anything that really explains any of this, and unfortunately the studio that made this game is no longer around, so it's not really possible to ask anyone. But my running theory is this is just a being of light, essentially.
Right. Well, they won't have trouble finding the light knob in the dark.
Yeah, exactly. So as you just saw there, our first upgrade is a gun. We now can shoot bullets, which is very useful in getting rid of all these pesky aliens that are trying to both murder me and shroud the entire world in darkness.
Yeah, so the game is actually delisted from Steam, but
Yep.
you know, it's really too bad because it looks great, right? So GOG still has keys for this, so if you're interested in playing this game, you can still just go to GOG. And I believe I saw that the Humble Bundle still had some keys for this too. But yeah, they pulled it from Steam. Like, unfortunately, the studio didn't make it, and they had to close. Which is a shame because it's a beautiful game.
Yeah, there were actually some speedrunners that worked in the studio that made this game. Most famously, that some people may recognize the name of is Uranium Anchor, who is fairly well known of being involved with GDQ and being a tech person there for a very long time. He was one of the developers. When this game just came out, we used the SDA forums to kind of like initially route the game, figure out how all the things worked and whatever. And Uranium Anchor was actually quite active in that thread and telling us various things. And one of the skips that we'll see later on in the run was actually found and then later revealed by the developers themselves. Uranium Anchor basically gave us a while to figure out things for ourselves, and eventually when we couldn't find anything anymore, he revealed what the devs had found in testing that they've kindly left in for us, which is very, very useful because it is quite the massive skip. Okay, here you'll see the first button puzzle. So what I did there is I stepped on a pressure plate, which activates a button. You'll see this pipe here, which now is blue, which activates a door further down in the level. Yeah, it is a really cool game. I'm obviously showing off any percent, but it also has a bunch of collectibles hidden in the levels. I wouldn't even know where because I've never bothered to look for all of them, but that also means that they're well hidden enough that I've not been able to find most of them. I know where most of them in the first level are, and beyond that, I have no clue whatsoever, honestly. So there is a lot of content to this game if you want to just casually play it and mess with it. It has some good replay value. So here we're going to get intentionally hit because we have another button puzzle coming up, but these buttons will stay active regardless of if you die or not. So we're going to hit this plate here, immediately do a death warp back to the checkpoint that was up here, which skips the entire climb back up, and we can just go to the door. So up here is one of the collectibles, but if you're just running through, it's not that obvious that there's like a hole up above there. So yeah, here we're clearing another pool, which is the third of this level, and therefore also the final one of this level. And we're heading straight into our first boss fight. As you can see here, like on the left here, on the right here, and there's another one all the way down here. This monster is being pushed away by the pools that we cleared up that contain a whole lot of light. And now we're left beating this boss while it spawns a bunch of enemies around us that we need to dodge. So these boss fights are basically 3 phases. They have a set amount of health. You can't skip a phase or like speed one up except for just not missing your shots. And they scale with you according to what upgrades you should have during a certain level as you get to the boss fight. So they're fairly challenging even as you get into the later levels. But
Yeah, and that's like the interesting part because we are going to skip some upgrades.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which upgrades are skipped and if they're very relevant, but the game will just assume you got them because you got that far in the game, and you're supposed to get them, right? So
yes,
the bosses will like increasingly get harder, like even harder because you are speedrunning it.
yeah, we're basically skipping our third and final gun upgrade. So that significantly decreases our damage for that entire level, including the boss. Luckily, this game does have the feature of giving you all the upgrades at the start of a level that you should have. So as soon as we finish that level, we do get the gun upgrade. Otherwise, this would be a very complicated run to complete. But so yeah, here we're going to meet lanterns. Lanterns you can attach to by glaring. You'll basically, it's kind of like a grappling hook, but you can also preserve momentum by jumping off before you are at the lantern. You can actually preserve your momentum and start flying over. So we'll abuse that very much in this level to traverse much faster than they intended for us to go. And then here we get our second upgrade, which is the last one we're going to properly collect. And as you saw there, right before you hit the cutscene, it already gives you your upgrade. But my shooting speed is now increased quite a bit. I have a triple shot, which is a little bit wider. It shoots a lot faster, and it takes care of enemies quite a lot quicker. But in turn, the game is also going to spawn enemies that have a lot more health and are bigger. So it kind of scales with you in your upgrades.
Well, bigger is kind of nice, because then it's easier to hit, right?
Well, yes, except they also take so many more bullets that it kind of gets hard to get rid of enemies sometimes.
All right.
Because they like to stack them and like make a whole bunch of them. So here we're going to have a little bit of a tight section. These first monsters are not so bad, but I need to get rid of these monsters that spawn right ahead of me. I did get them out of the way, and that means I can just make this a hold less section and just fly straight through. The game technically isn't random. So long as you do the same inputs, it'll spawn enemies in the same position, or better said, so long as you are in the same position, they'll spawn in the same position. But if you're only slightly off, it'll get awkward.
It just means that you are random, right?
Yes. Also, what we just did here is skip an entire room, basically. Normally, you're supposed to wrap all the way around the left of that room that we were just in. But by just barely being able to hit that lantern that I aimed at in the top right, we can skip that entire room and just hit the lantern, get thrown to there, and just go on our merry way. So here we're just pushing these enemies out of the way, hitting another pressure plate, and then going back up. And here comes a section that looks very, very cool if you do it well, and very not cool if you do it not so well. I got a little bit too much speed there, but that's okay. You can get a much further launch all the way to over like here, but that still was very
I think
decent.
it was great. You did not fall at all.
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, like I had a little bit too much speed going into that last lantern. If you're a bit further away from that lantern, you can get it to like fling you all the way over. But I was a bit too high up, so it I couldn't like abuse me being flung horizontally as much. I mostly got vertical speed from that. Yeah, here we'll get our new upgrade, and you also saw some sand moving, which means the layout of this level has changed a little bit. So our way back is not going to look anything like our way forward, and we get a slide. So we are now partially Mega Man.
Oh.
Unfortunately, we can't trigger it like Mega Man. We cannot do it on flat surfaces, but any sloped surface will automatically start triggering a slide, where if we jump, we can reserve a little bit of momentum. So it's a really nice way to travel. And as games tend to do, as soon as you get an upgrade, you suddenly have to use it a lot to traverse the rest of the level, because they're trying to make you get the upgrades. So I could have tried to go here, but as you can see, I wouldn't have actually been able to like progress the level any further, because I needed that slide. From there, we clean up another pool. This is basically just a gauntlet of enemies that it tries to get you to deal with, which I would prefer not to, so just going to ignore them, try and move on as much as possible. You have 3 health. It is really hard to see how much health you have, because the only thing the game does is make your screen darker, which, if it's already a dark level, is really hard to see. You might have been able to see it, but sometimes there's these balls of light that are either in the level or they spawn out of enemies. Those are health regens. They give you 1 health back. I just grabbed one there.
You think people would be fooled by having, less health and then the screen being darker and being like, oh, I have to increase the brightness on my screen?
Well, it's largely really difficult in boss fights, because basically what I just do is count my health, because it's just really hard to keep track of while you're doing a whole bunch of other things. And I just try to keep it as close to full health as possible, because you can definitely get chained by a couple enemies in a row and lose your health very quickly, because there's basically no countdown on no cooldown on you getting hit twice. So you can definitely just get chained into getting hit 3 times in a row very quickly.
Right. It does look like a good gimmick that, because you've been hit, your light is dying, so to say.
Yeah, exactly. You're being overtaken by darkness, your light is fading.
Yeah, like a dying flame.
Yeah, for sure. It's just not very user-friendly in terms of being able to tell what your health is at any moment. So yeah, on these boss fights, basically what we do is like, I got a health back here, I'm just leaving it, and then if I get hit, I'll just kind of swim into it and pick it up as we go, so I can keep shooting at the boss. And I'm just going to circle the boss. So this boss added a new gimmick. It now has explosions. So whenever it's going to, at a random interval, spawn explosions under me during like the build-up phase. They are always right on top of me, so you basically can't stand still, or you can for little durations until it starts spawning them. Once it's open, it's going to constantly keep spawning them, so then you're gonna have to keep moving while there's enemies around you, so you're gonna have to like weave in and out of enemies while trying to dodge the explosions. Luckily, friendly fire is enabled, so as you can just see there, the explosions also hit them and can make them explode. So if you're kind of like baiting the enemies to go behind you, you can kind of have the boss deal with them rather than you having to deal with them. So here I'm trying to do that and trying to get it to bait.
That's just called being smart.
Yes. Using your environment to your advantage. Yeah, that means we're going into our third world. On the loading screen, you also see that we've now cleared 2 worlds. Third world is Pillar World, which luckily in a couple minutes will finally give us the one key ability you want in any platformer, a second jump. They take about 20 odd minutes to finally give you a second jump. But after that, it definitely helps a lot, because if you just mess up a jump or anything, it gives you a lot more flexibility to just fix it, and it also just gives you more flexibility in terms of messing with the level, being able to skip certain things. Here, we skip a couple slides by just dropping down in the correct hole that it wants us to go into eventually. And then on lanterns, you can also boost by just continually hitting them, then jumping out, and you gain a little bit of vertical momentum every time you do it, if you do it quick enough. So I just use that there to like boost myself a little bit up. Then we'll keep going. Coming up here, we're going to save a couple minutes by abusing a little bit of physics. Down here, the game is intending for you to go up here, do a bunch of things. Then here, it's intending for you to drop down. Instead, I'm going to jump just barely on the corner of a platform there, which gives me just enough momentum to breach that gap, which you're not intended to be able to do, and skip the entire thing. It was kind of hard to see because it happened very quickly, but I basically fell to the right, hit a slanted surface on the left, which gave me a little bit extra horizontal momentum to just barely be able to make it over that gap. And then I just abused the corner of that platform to be able to get myself up and get into that rail to slide over. Then we're going to go up here. Sorry, go ahead.
Do these enemies have a name, or?
Not that I know of.
It's just the darkness, just like in Kingdom Hearts.
Maybe it's mentioned in the intro, but I'll be honest, I have never actually really looked at it very much, except for like in terms of marathon prep a little bit.
Oh, I mean, honestly, like, I don't think this game needs a lot of explanation. It's pretty straightforward. You are the bundle of light, and you are fighting the darkness that is plaguing this planet. Because it's one planet, right? It's not like you're going to multiple
It's
planets.
technically called. There are multiple worlds, so every level is like a world.
Right.
It's like tree world, desert world. This is pillar world, and then we'll have ice world, lava world, and then a final level that has a specific name. But that's because that mob is basically named. So
Yes.
the alien race is called Remora. Here, I also did a little bit of physics abuse. So those puzzle pieces, with your glare, you can carry them. What I just did is instead of having to like jump around and go all the way around myself, I hovered it and I threw it over the corner there, and it just barely lands in the receptacle, and you can just keep going. Otherwise, you'll have to like wrap all the way around, jump up there yourself, and like throw the puzzle piece in. But yeah, the alien race is called the Remora. So that's the only name they have, and I don't think the individual monsters have names as far as I'm aware.
Right. But I think it's pretty straightforward, this whole story.
Yeah, as you can see here, there's some wind physics. So we're being shoved upwards. Also going to abuse those physics in just a second. Just on the corner here of where I can still hit the air, I can jump up to this platform. Normally, you're supposed to jump on multiple mushrooms to get up there, but we can just barely use the air physics there while they're still like right at that corner to use the upwards momentum in my jump. And then we get our double jump. Yeah, about 20 minutes in. That's usually about where we get it. Then from here, we get a lot more movement options, obviously.
Well, it's interesting that they have a double jump, because you can already, like, shoot yourself to lanterns.
Yeah.
And now they're here's a double jump.
I'm not quite sure if the lantern bit was intended necessarily, or at least not for casual play. It's not like the game tells you can do this. It's not like they expect you to do it casually. I'm sure they like did the movement preservation in terms of just making speedruns more enjoyable, but so they kind of intended for it to work that way, but not for casual playthrough. Yeah, with the double jump and the lanterns, as you can see there, you can obviously make a lot of really smooth and good-looking movement happen.
Yeah,
and
you're
here,
kind of shotting yourself.
Yeah. Here we're going to grab a puzzle piece, and I'm going to drop it and then double jump up. I hope it works. Here I'm going to jump up. I just loaded the puzzle receptacle below. So long as the puzzle piece falls in, it just grabs it and it activates that door. If I was slightly too high for that double jump, the receptacle wouldn't have loaded, and the puzzle piece would have just stayed there until I went low enough.
Well done.
And then we get to another boss fight. This one has yet another gimmick. I'd say arguably this one is the easier, though, because it's just a laser that's going to rotate around while the enemies are still fairly manageable. So this one isn't too bad, but we do have some fast-moving enemies, and if you happen to get kind of pinched by the two lasers that spawn, you can get in quite a tight spot. But because of your glare ability, you can kind of push these bombers into the wall and have them explode that way. So it is well manageable, as long as you know what you're doing.
So usually these type of games are kind of unforgiving when it comes to, taking damage and stuff, right? It's kind of bullet helly and roguelike-ish usually when you go through these kind of games. But Glare is not really a game that punishes you in a way that, like, oh, now I have to redo the entire level again.
Not the level, but these boss fights, it definitely does. If I happen to mess up right at this phase of the boss fight, where we're in phase 3 and right about the end, and I were to die here, I would have to do the entire boss fight over again. Right. Because the checkpoint is outside of the room and it does not store the health. So yeah, here, I'm gonna quickly grab my phone because I actually need a metronome for this bit. There's a trick coming up that is pretty much, well, I wouldn't say frame perfect, but it's frame rate dependent and it is timing dependent. So we'll see if we can get it first try. But should be fine. It's right at the start of the level as well, so if it does happen to mess up, I could reset or just let it go on. Depends on what the result is. So yeah, the start is just a couple slides, some enemy management, getting them out of your way. And then coming up here, we meet what we affectionately called the bash beasts, and I think the developers have called them that, if I recall correctly. If you get hit by these, you kind of get knocked back, but they also have a very interesting property. Oh, well, you get knocked back like that. That was not what I was trying to do. I'm going to get on top of him. And so he was moving backwards there. Basically, this is the skip that the devs found. One of the devs was on top of that as it was moving. He paused for a smoke break. He comes back from his smoke break, unpauses, and he's stuck flying up in the air for 40 minutes.
Sounds like some loose collision checking right here.
Well, what I think happened because I know Glare is made in the Unity engine, and you can pause the game without pausing the physics engine. You can pause games without pausing the physics engine. So basically what is most likely happening is that the physics engine is still running in the background, doing physics calculations, and it's trying to push me out of that bash beast because it's moving backwards. And because it's with such high velocity, we fly upward.
Right, and it's like based on timing.
The longer you're paused, the more pushback you get. And the physics calculation is based on frame rate. So if I have 120 frame rate, I basically need to unpause twice as fast as if I had 60 frame rate. So basically what I've done is, because I generally run this game either at 60 or 120 hertz, I have 2 metronome settings that I know work at those frame rates. And I just use those. I picked 60 because if you're at like an in-person event, they're usually going to have 60 hertz monitors and stuff, and 120 was just a good double for whenever you have game capture available without needing to do a whole bunch of like extra math and stuff. Yeah, I just pause and unpause based on a metronome timing. Unfortunately, I didn't get swag strat. So on that last slide there, if you jump your time your jump just correctly, you can kind of slide into this cutscene. It saves literally no time or barely any at all, but it's just swaggy. So yeah, the skip we just did, it skipped a bunch of the level, but unfortunately we still have to do part of it that we could technically jump over. Just right here, we're going to get an upgrade called light bombs. We need this to finish this level. Without light bombs, you cannot get to the end of this level. So although we've been able to skip a large portion of this level, unfortunately, it's not as much as that jump would technically allow us to go to. You'll see a little bit later as we go through that I'm going to end up in an area that might look very familiar and already has some objects activated. That's because that's where we went through to get to where we are now. So right here is where we landed right after we jumped up. Then over here, we're going to slide, and this railing here is already activated because we just used it. But now, instead of jumping over this pillar up the top here, we're just going to traverse the level normally and keep going. But yeah, if you go to here normally, you're going to get blocked by walls that can only be cleared by light bombs. And we have found no way to be able to skip that or jump over this section as well, unfortunately. That would be pretty much the biggest skip discovery in this game if it were ever found.
Say that I really like how the camera moves in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really smooth, nice platformer. There is essentially no real luck elements, so you being better means you get a better time. So it's really rewarding in that sense. I also just completed the fast bird cycle. This can only happen if you've just started the birds. Basically, you can jump from one bird to the second bird to the third. The cycle just happens to line up as you activate those birds that you can do that. If you were to die, you cannot get that cycle again. So, let me on, please. Here we go. Glare also reflects certain projectiles, by the way. This came up like right at the start of the level, but I just realized I never mentioned that. Here, we're going to do a little bit more of lantern abuse. The game intends for you to, from the right here, go up and like wrap around into that launcher. Instead, I'm just going to use the lantern as a launcher because that's just quicker. Why use the intended launcher when the game gives you another one that's faster? There we go. Then there's just more enemies. So you're gonna notice here the enemies start taking longer to kill. That's because at this point the game is kind of expecting me to just have that gun upgrade. So the enemies that spawn start having more health. They start spawning different enemies that just have more health in general.
Do those upgrades ever like I'm sorry, like do they ever like change you you know, physically?
No, they don't do any physical thing. There will be an upgrade later that kind of changes how we interact with the world, but that is the absolute last upgrade we'll be getting. I guess you could technically see that as sort of a physical upgrade in a sense, but you don't see anything about Shiner's model that really changes. So yeah, here you'll see there's a lot of branching paths. Normally the game intends for you to have taken all of these to get to this last path, but because we skipped so much of the level, you'll never actually see all those sections. From here, we can just jump off that railing and fly all the way into the boss right away without having to do any walking. So this boss fight, I would argue, is probably the hardest. These balls that fly around here, they don't actually attack me or aim for me, but they have an absolute ton of health. They're intended to be hard to kill even if you have the proper weapon upgrade here. And whenever they touch you, you lose a life. So they're kind of very hard to deal with. Luckily, we do have a light bomb, so I can kind of shove things out of my way, but that can... They do bounce off everything, so it's still a bit awkward to deal with them. Normally, I just try to find, like, a safe corner of sorts, and then just push everything out of that corner. So here, I'm just going to push these out of the way and kind of find a safe spot and try and safeguard it, basically, while keeping a couple health packs around. So I can kind of keep myself at high health. Now I lost 2 health, so I'm going to very quickly pick those health packs up that I'm very glad I left around. Yeah, as you can see, especially those bigger enemies that kind of split into smaller enemies can get hectic quite quickly. And the game is also giving me no health drops anymore because it gave all of them at the start. So I definitely need to... I'm at 2 health. so I need to be a little bit careful. That's 1 health. I'm just gonna pick that up, and now we're gonna deal with this boss. A little bit of marathon safety, lost a couple seconds, but it's worth over losing 2 minutes.
Definitely so.
There we go.
Yeah. And I noticed, like, there's not really, like, how would I say, like, smash damage from when you push those objects away, or monsters, I should say. It's not like they collide with the wall and they get crushed or anything.
No, it's just the one enemy that does get damaged from that is the ones that explode. If you push those into the wall, like the ones that move very quickly and like make a hissing sound, if you push those into a wall, they will explode. But all the other enemies get 0 damage or have no interaction with getting hit into a wall. So yeah, here you'll be able to see our gun upgrade that we were supposed to have less level. As you can see, it has quite the high fire rate, so it definitely would have helped the last level as well. But it's not worth spending an extra 15 minutes in a level, so we'll just deal with it. Now we're gonna catch this puzzle piece midair, flip it around us. It cannot touch the lava because then the puzzle piece will break. We'll throw it into that receptacle while moving left ourselves. This I'm going to take extra safe because this area is absolutely horrible for speedruns. There we go. Yeah, you're just going to hit the wall. There we go. All right. And then coming up here is the biggest skip in this level, which is kind of hard. We're going to do a couple of those physics abuses with corners. So there I bridged the gap I wasn't supposed to. Here I'm doing that again. And then here is the most difficult of them all. I'm supposed to hit a texture here. That's going to fly me up. Then I just need to get high enough on that wall. There we go. That can definitely get you stuck for like 15, 20 minutes or not work at all. I have been there, and that is very frustrating. Getting that in like 5-6 jumps instead of the 3 it's supposed to is very good. That is very hard to hit all those corners correctly and not hit any of the spikes or anything, because you'll go back all the way back to the checkpoint before any of those jumps. So yeah, here we get Comet Slide, which whenever I'm in this mode where there's fire behind me, I am invulnerable. So long as I keep the momentum from that slide alive, I will be invulnerable. That is the upgrade I was talking about, which kind of changes Shiner in a way, because now I can just go through enemies, they will explode, and I can just ignore them. So long as I keep the momentum up to keep this state alive. It is very nice. Here's another... Oh, I did not hit that as I wanted to. There we go. Another example of physics abuse. I really just appreciate how much... both in terms of Shiner itself and the objects in the game, they've just done a lot with momentum preservation, where if you let something go, it'll just keep going the way it was, which just makes this a very smooth and good feeling game.
So wait, which world are we in right now?
We are in Lava World right now.
Ah, of course.
Yeah, the name kind of gives away the intended purpose. So here we're going to see a pool. This is the last pool. We've not seen the first or second because we skipped them, but we'll see in the boss fight if that matters or not. This is some tight jumping. You'll see a couple pools here and there. Normally, earlier in the level, we're supposed to unlock something where bubbles spawn out of those pools. We never activated that, so the game is not going to give that to us. Luckily, those sections... That was very close, by the way. If I get crushed on the ceiling there, I am very dead. I should not have gone for that, but doesn't matter. I didn't hit that button, I think. Sorry. So yeah, the bubbles don't appear, so we can't use them. Normally, the bubbles appear and you can kind of bounce off them. Instead, we've used the terrain around us, just jumped on some walls, to be able to just get up. So yeah, this is Lava World's boss. Instead of thinking of a new gimmick, they were like, you know what? You can just deal with them all. This is the last normal world in the game. So they were like, yeah, we're just going to throw everything, including the kitchen sink at you, and you're just going to have to deal with it. You might be thinking, where are the explosions? Well, here they are, and they're now completely random. So, and happen much more often. So now you need to constantly look around at where you're going. Well, there's a bunch of enemies spawning, a bunch of these high health balls spawning, and everything all around. Then after this will be one more level. Don't worry about time yet. I'll let you know once that is fairly close to coming up.
I'm just surprised that you can talk while all of this is happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just looking around and focusing on the shooting bit, and then you can talk kind of in the meantime. I've played this game a couple times, let's say.
Oh, it would be really cool to put like an eye tracker on you while you're doing this.
Yeah, you'd see my eyes just flying anywhere but where I'm currently at, most likely. I am basically tracking where I'm about to go and seeing if that is safe, and if anything is hitting me from the other direction, I get hit by that. Like that's how I usually get hit, because I'm kind of tracking if where I'm going is safe, because where I am right now used to be safe, so I'm just working on the assumption that it still is, or it is for a close for as long as I need it to, basically. So yeah, this is Toric Caster. This is the big evil of them all. He's been the one that constantly is spawning in enemies. He's the one that is taken over the sun, as you can see there. And he's the one thing we definitely need to get rid of if we want to restore this galaxy, I guess, because it's multiple worlds. So yeah, here we activate these lasers that are going into the sun that brighten them up and clear the sun. Here we get a laser chase sequence. Unfortunately, the slide physics are a bit awkward. If you just hit them wrong, they can kind of cancel out. So we're taking it a little bit safe. Hopefully here I can just... unfortunately I cannot. Normally you can kind of slide over those buttons. Here is a section that we're going to skip completely, hopefully. No, let me on this corner, please. There we go. So yeah, instead of going left, which the game intends us to do, we're just going to go right and go over here. And this is the end. So goodbye Pillar World circle. It's been good. Then we have ice and then lava. Lava is the last circle that we'll see. They're obviously tied into the worlds that we just completed as well. And then after we finish lava, there will be... I'll jump into a cutscene trigger, basically, and that's time. I messed that up, unfortunately. Oof. I shouldn't have double jumped there. Yeah, basically, if you mess up your momentum there, you are kind of dead. I'm also right on the laser. We're just gonna deal with it. Yeah. Okay. Let's...
tight.
Yeah. If you mess up your momentum by going right, then back left, it's kind of tight. Normally, it's just hold left and just single jump a bunch of them, then double jump a bunch of them. But if you mess it up, it can get kind of awkward. There we go. That was a slide over the button. So this is the last section of this level. Here, we'll do a couple more platform skips. Instead of going the intended route all the way around to get up here, we're just going to jump on the side of the platform and jump straight up. Here, we're going to do some marathon safety by just getting up close to them. Unfortunately, they didn't give me any health, so I'm only at 1 health right now. So we're just going to take this super safe and get out. Okay, now we're invulnerable, so now we're kind of safe for a little bit. Just need my jump input to not get eaten. Get very ready on time. instead of doing the intended route again, we're just going to jump up here, jump on this platform, and time. All right.
GG.
So yeah, that was Glare.
Well done. I mean, that was a very clean run.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there were a couple deaths, but all in all, it was very much a good run.
Good run of a beautiful game.
It was about a minute 20 over world record. Yeah, as you can see here for programming, Benjamin Cutler, that's Uranium Anchor, who also worked for GDQ. Very, very cool.
Doxed.
I mean, he publicly shows himself with his name and everything, so...
He doxed his own name. Yeah, I think this game just, you know, it's really smooth. It's really nice to look at. It's definitely something that you would want to pick up if you like these kind of platformer games.
Yeah, it's very sad that the studio went under. They definitely wanted to support speedrunning more by adding like a speedrun timer and speedrun modes and everything, but they never really got to it. I mean, there are like IL timers for all the levels, and they have a bunch of Steam achievements they give you for completing the levels under a certain time, but yeah. Unfortunately, they just they cease to exist, and therefore the game also ceased to exist on Steam. But it's still a very good pickup if it looks interesting. Definitely check out the Good Old Games or the Humble Bundle store and pick it up. Right. Well, that's it for me. So what do we have coming right up? Curse Crackers from Whom the Bell Tolls. Well, definitely stick around for that. For our good friend Tempest Mask to run that game as well.
Yeah, looking forward to see Tempest.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, thank you very much, Jasper. That was really fun. I've never actually played Glare before, but yeah, it looks like throwing Shiner around the levels is really smooth and a pleasure to play. I mean, I'm sure that's down to some of your gameplay as well, to be fair, but yeah, fantastic. Well, yeah, sadly, that's my time on the host mic finished for today, but it's been a pleasure to introduce these fantastic runners. The good news is I'll be back tomorrow for the GTA and Wario Land runs. And the even better news is that our next host will be Zokubun, who'll be with us shortly. I'll say it one more time. Have a lovely stretch, hydrate, and get settled in for our next game. As we've just been told, it's Curse Crackers for Whom the Bell Toils, run by Tempest Mask 1000. So I'll see you all in chat for the rest of the runs. We'll see you soon.